If you stand under this tree for shade, it can literally kill you. Yeah, you heard that right. Just for standing under it. In the shade. Like a normal person trying to get out of the sun. And the worst part, it looks completely harmless. It looks like the kind of tree you'd see in a park. The kind you'd happily lean against, or sit under for a picnic, or let your kids run around beneath without thinking twice. But if you did any of those things with this particular tree, you would regret it almost immediately. Meet the manchineel tree, officially recognized by the Guinness World Records as the most dangerous tree on the planet. And once I walk you through exactly what this thing is capable of, from its fruit, to its bark, to its smoke, to the actual rain that falls off its leaves, I think you're going to agree that that title is very well earned. So where does this tree even exist? Because your first instinct might be to think this is some incredibly rare, incredibly remote thing that grows in one tiny corner of the world that you'd never visit anyway. But the manchineel tree is actually found across the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, Central America, and parts of northern South America. It grows on beaches, coastal areas, places where people actually go, places where tourists actually visit. It tends to grow right along the shoreline, often mixed in with other trees, looking completely unremarkable. No warning signs in nature. No obvious signals that this thing is different from every other tree around it. It just stands there, looking like a tree. And that is genuinely one of the most dangerous things about it. Now let's start with the most obvious entry point. The thing that's taken out the most unsuspecting people over the centuries. The fruit. The manchineel tree produces these small, round fruits. Green to yellow when ripe. About the size of a golf ball. They grow in clusters and they genuinely look like little apples. Which is actually where the tree gets one of its nicknames. The locals in many parts of the Caribbean call it La Manzanilla de la Muerte. The little apple of death. And if you came across one of these fruits without knowing what it was, you'd probably pick it up. Because it doesn't just look appealing. It smells appealing. There are documented accounts of people describing the smell as sweet and pleasant. Tropical even. Like something you'd actually want to eat. Which is exactly what some people have done. And immediately wish they hadn't. Because the moment that fruit makes contact with your mouth, something shifts. And it shifts fast. Within minutes, sometimes within seconds, there is an intense burning sensation that starts in your lips and your tongue and spreads almost immediately to your throat. And this isn't a mild burning. This isn't the kind of spicy burning you get from a hot pepper that fades after a minute. This is a deep chemical burning that gets worse the more you swallow. People who have survived eating it describe the pain in your throat as feeling like swallowing broken glass. Actual broken glass. Your throat starts to swell. The burning spreads. Your airways can start to close up. And all of this from one bite of something that looked and smelled like it could have been a perfectly normal piece of fruit sitting in a bowl on someone's kitchen counter. The toxin responsible is called phorbol, and it is extraordinarily potent. Even the juice from the fruit, just the liquid on your hands from touching it, can cause severe chemical burns to your skin. But the fruit is honestly just the beginning. Because here is where the manchineel tree separates itself from every other dangerous plant you've ever heard of. It's not just the fruit. It's everything. Every single part of this tree. Running through the bark, the branches, the leaves, the roots, basically the entire tree, is a white milky sap. And this sap is where the real danger lives. Now, if you've ever accidentally broken a branch off a common garden plant and seen white sap come out, you probably didn't think much of it. Lots of plants have milky sap. It usually just means don't eat it and wash your hands. With the manchineel tree, the sap is on a completely different level. Physical contact with the sap, and we're talking about just touching the bark of the tree, can cause almost immediate skin irritation. But not the kind of irritation where you get a bit red and itchy for an hour. We're talking severe chemical burns. Blistering. The kind of blistering where the skin actually raises up into fluid-filled bubbles. There are documented cases of people who have leaned against a manchineel tree, fully clothed, and had the sap seep through their clothing and cause burns through the fabric. People who have touched the bark with bare hands and needed medical treatment for what the sap did to their skin. And if any of it gets in your eyes, which can happen just from touching the bark and then rubbing your eye, it can cause extreme inflammation, intense pain, and in some cases temporary blindness. This is from touching a tree trunk, from leaning on bark. And it gets worse, because you don't even have to touch the tree for it to hurt you. If a manchineel tree catches fire, whether from a lightning strike, a wildfire, or someone who maybe thought burning it was a good way to get rid of it. The smoke it produces is not normal smoke. The toxic compounds in the sap don't just disappear in fire. They get carried up into the smoke. And that smoke, if it gets in your eyes, causes intense burning and inflammation. The same kind of reaction the sap causes on skin, now happening to the delicate tissue of your eyes. Partial blindness. Severe irritation. People have reported not being able to see properly for hours or even days after smoke exposure. And if you breathe it in, which you would if you were anywhere near the fire, the respiratory effects can be serious. Coughing. Difficulty breathing. In higher concentrations, it can cause real respiratory distress. So you can't touch it. You can't eat from it. You can't burn it. But the one that really gets me, the one that still feels almost unbelievable even though it's completely documented, is the rain. Here's the scenario. You're on a beach in the Caribbean. It's a hot day. You see a tree providing some shade near the shoreline. It looks completely normal. You walk over, stand underneath it, and wait for the sun to ease up. And then it starts to rain. What you don't know, what you have no way of knowing just by looking at it, is that the rain is now mixing with the sap that coats the surface of this tree's leaves. And as those droplets run off the leaves and fall down, they're carrying the sap with them. And they're landing on you, on your skin, on your arms, your neck, your face. And within minutes, you start to feel it. Burning, blistering, the same reaction that direct contact with the bark causes, now happening to you from rainwater. From rainwater. You stood in the shade of a tree during a rain shower, and now you have chemical burns covering whatever parts of your body the water touched. This has actually happened to people. This isn't a hypothetical. There are real documented cases of people suffering genuine injuries from sheltering under a manchineal tree during rain. Tourists who had no idea what the tree was. People who were just trying to stay dry. And this is why the tree holds its Guinness World Record. Because most dangerous plants require you to interact with them in some specific way to be harmed. Eat this. Touch that. Get the sap in a wound. The manchineal tree can hurt you for simply existing near it. Now you might be wondering, how has this tree survived? How has something this dangerous not been cut down everywhere it grows? And the answer is actually really interesting. Because despite how terrifying it is to humans, the manchineal tree plays a legitimate ecological role in its environment. Its root system is extremely effective at preventing coastal erosion. In areas where it grows along beaches and shorelines, it helps hold the land together against the ocean. And there are animals that have adapted to it. The black-spined iguana, for example, can eat the fruit of the manchineal tree without any apparent harm. It's essentially immune to the toxins that would hospitalize or kill a human. So nature found a way to work around it, to use it, while leaving us very much on the outside. There are also communities in Central America and the Caribbean that have developed traditional knowledge about this tree over generations. They know what it looks like. They know to avoid it. Some communities actually mark the trees with warning signs, red paint on the bark or warning notices nearby, so that people who don't know what to look for can be alerted. In some areas, it's actually illegal to cut down manchineal trees without specific permits, partly because of the ecological value, and partly because cutting one down without knowing exactly what you're doing, and without proper protective equipment, can expose whoever is doing the cutting to serious injury from the sap. Now here's the thing I keep coming back to every time I think about the manchineal tree. We have this tendency to think of dangerous things as looking dangerous. Venomous animals tend to be brightly colored. Dangerous mushrooms often look strange or off. There are usually some kind of visual cues, something that triggers your instinct to be careful. The manchineal tree gives you nothing. It looks like a tree, a completely ordinary, unremarkable tree that you would walk past or stand under or shelter beneath without a second thought. There is nothing about its appearance, nothing about the way it looks in the wild, surrounded by other coastal trees, that tells you to stay away. And that is what makes it genuinely one of the most quietly terrifying things in the natural world. Not a predator, not an animal, not something that chases you or hunts you. Just a tree, standing completely still, waiting for the rain. So the next time you're on a beach somewhere tropical and you spot a tree offering a bit of shade, maybe just take a second before you walk over. Because somewhere out there, the most dangerous tree in the world is standing on a coastline. Completely calm, completely still, looking like absolutely nothing is wrong. And it holds a Guinness World Record for it.